Hello, Stevie. Hello, Christy. Hello, Sherry. Haha. There we go. Sorry, I'm pulling up the video on my computer, because comments aren't showing up on my phone. So when I get started, I'm not There we go. I didn't want to sound back and forth. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Haley. Hello, Anita. I'm glad you guys are excited for this live. Okay, awesome, perfect. I'm glad you're excited, Sherry. Okay, like I said, I am not able to see the comments on my phone for whatever reason, so I will bounce back and forth before I jump over to begin the live. Now that I have a decent amount of people up, can you guys answer me one quick question? Can you hear the background music? Is it too loud, too soft, or just right? Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Alright. So, I'm gonna jump over to my notes since I want to jump right into it, and I'm running a little behind. So, before I go into the folklore, thank you for joining me here tonight. I figured this would be a perfect time of the year to jump into the next part of learning about the Appalachian folk magic. Like I said in the live previous to this, and if you haven't watched it, it is in our guides. Please go back and check that out. For those of you who have already watched it, this goes into the next part. I had said about, in order to understand and utilize Appalachian folk magic, you have to understand it as a whole, and part of understanding it as a whole is understanding the folklore and the legends that go into it. And, the reason for that is because a lot of the legends and the folklore that surround the Appalachian mountain range and the mountain ranges that lead into the Appalachia not only are terrifying tales, or some of them aren't even terrifying, some of them are just odd and weird. Some of them are helpful spirits of the land, and we'll go into it. But it's to understand that were other beings in the same areas as these people, and they needed to learn how to work with each other instead of trying to come in and take over each other's land. They wanted to learn how to work with each other in harmony. And to work with each other in harmony, there was a lot of trials and errors, and they needed to teach different lessons. And these different lessons were learned and taught amongst the people. And each of these different lores teaches a lesson in of itself, if that makes sense. These stories were told to the members of the different tribes, the different settlements, different groups of people along the Appalachia from top to the bottom. It was to give you a better understanding of how to work with the mountain in harmony, and those within the mountains in harmony. That's where it goes into, in all honesty. Each tale comes from different cultures that came together to create the folk magic that we know and love today. So, before I jump in, I just want to double check some comments. Okay. Alright, so I broke this live into 2 parts, and the reason for that is because there's a lot that are important legends that I felt were necessary for you guys to know and learn, because they are what are said to roam the mountain range to this day and are very, very incorporated to this day in these cultures that still live within the mountains. I'm gonna start off with the indigenous peoples, Native Americans folklore. So the tales that we're gonna go over here first are the ones that were folklore stories of creatures believed to wander the Appalachian Mountains from different Native American tribes within the Appalachian Mountain Range. I don't know what just happened. Sorry guys, I apologize. I went all the way down to the bottom of my page. Alright, so the first tale I have for you, and it is a very known tale if you know anything or have heard any specific stories from the Appalachia. In Missouri is where this is started. The Wampus Cat, aka the Cherokee Death Cat. In Missouri, they call it the Galliwampus. In Arkansas, it's a whistling wampus. In the Appalachia, it's just plain old wampus, or aka the Wampus Cat. It's a half dog, half cat creature that can run erect or on all fours. It's rumored to be seen just after dark or right before dawn all throughout the Appalachian Mountains. But that's about all anyone can agree on. In the non-Native American cultures, it's a howling evil creature with yellow eyes that can supposedly pierce the hearts and souls of those unfortunate enough to cross its path, driving them from the edge of edge of sanity. But what we want to know about is the Cherokee folklore, which is where this originated. AKA, that's where the Cherokee cat came from in its name. Sorry, I accidentally hit my page back down again. I don't know why it wants to be a pain in my butt. In the Cherokee, sorry, it still isn't where I want it. In the Cherokee folklore, it was there was a story behind it, and this story is a tale that I may butcher some names, so before I read it, I wanted to give a full disclosure. I may butcher some names, and I apologize heavily for it ahead of time. The Cherokee folklore, which is filled of tales of evil spirits lurking in the deep, dark forests that surround the villages, offers a different view of the Wampus Cat. An evil demon called Iwo, the spirit of madness, had been terrorizing the village of Etowah or Chota, depending on the version you hear, in what is today North Carolina. The village shamans and war chiefs, were called a meeting, which was a meeting of the wise shamans, where the wise shamans told the war chiefs that sending the braves to hunt and kill the Iwo was surely going to be the end of the tribe, or the Iwo had the terrible power to drive men mad with a glance. The war chiefs argued that the Iwo could no longer feast on the dreams of the Cherokee children and that something must be done. Together they agreed that their strongest brave would go alone, being great honor to his family and tribe by killing the mad demon. Standing Bear, or Great Fellow, depending on the story version, was the strongest, fastest, sneakiest, smartest, and most respectful brave in all of the Cherokee Nation, and he was chosen to do the battle with the demon. As he walked from his village, the shamans blessed him, and the war chiefs gave him many fine weapons with which to slay the beast, and on the edge of the town, his wife, Running Deer, bid him a final farewell. She would never see him the same way again. Weeks went by, and there was no word from the Standing Bear. Suddenly, late one night, the stricken brave come running back into camp, screaming and clawing at his eyes. One look, and Running Deer knew her husband was no more. With time, he would be able to pick berries and work in the fields with the young girls and the unmarried widows, but he would never be any good as a husband again, and by Cherokee law that meant he was dead. Standing Bear's name was never again mentioned, but Running Deer had loved her husband and she wanted revenge. Running Deer went to the shamans, and they gave her a booger mask and a bobcat's face, and they told her that the spirit of the mountain cat could stand against the Iwo, but she must be the one to surprise the demon. The war chiefs gave her a special black paste, which, when rubbed on her body, would hide her scent as well as her body. She kissed her former husband on the forehead, his blank eyes staring, headed off to seek her revenge. Running Deer knew the wood as well as she knew the village, and she ate sweet berries to keep up her strength over the many days, but still she came across no sign of Iwo. Then late one night she heard a creature stalking down by the stream. As she crept slowly towards the creek, she heard a twig snap behind her. She spun and just as suddenly realized how quickly it could have been the end of her. Behind her, a wily fox darted across the pathway. If that would have been Iwo, I would have been mad now, the widow Cherokee woman thought to herself as she continued towards the creek. At the edge of the creek, she saw footprints which did not belong there, and her former husband's breastplate lay at the edge of the water. As she followed the footprints upstream, she saw the demons. Yeah, the demons. Demon, I apologize. Its hulking form lurched hideously over the water, drinking from the pristine mountain spring. The Iwo hadn't seen her. Running Deer crept ever closer, and just as she felt she could bring herself no closer, she sprang. The Iwo spun and saw the cat spirit mask and began to tear at itself as the spirit of the mountain cat turned its powerful magic back on itself. The Iwo tumbled backwards into the pool, and Running Deer immediately turned on her heel and ran as fast as she could back to the village, never once looking back. When she arrived home, she sang a song to herself, a quiet song of grief for her husband, but also of joy for her demon's banishment. The shamans and war chiefs declared Running Deer the spirit talker and home protector. Some say that the spirit of Running Deer inhabits the Wampus cat and that she continues her eternal mission of watching her tribe's land to protect them and their peoples from the demons that hide in the dark and lost places of Tanasi. So in the lore of the Native American mythologies, the Wampus cat stands as a complex figure, a spectral guardian, a symbol of the wilds it protects, and a reminder of the delicate balance between humans and nature. Its story encourages respect for the forces of nature, both seen and unseen, and serves as a compelling narrative of stewardship and mystery. Before I go into the next one, is there any questions so far? I'm gonna jump over and look at the comments a while real quick. I appreciate your comment, Gabriella. Yeah, I agree. We all butcher names at some point. It's definitely a thing. I do it constantly. Oh, you're good, Christy. You know, Gabriella, I would usually agree with something like that, but let's face the facts. Hollywood has been terrible at creating a decent movie portraying these things. Sherry, I never heard that tale. Definitely going to have to look more into it. Yes, absolutely. And just remember, guys, every tale that I talk about tonight is a general rundown, a basic. Some of them may be more of a... They're all pretty much a shortened a version of the legend themselves. So if and when you guys get a chance, if you're interested in it, definitely look up these creatures yourselves. Yeah, me too. That's awesome. It was definitely a really interesting tale. Yes, I agree with you on that. Sherry. Alright, I'm gonna hop back over because I got quite a bit of tales. So we're gonna jump into the next one. This one started with the Algonquian native tribes. Sorry if I butchered that, but that's the best I got. And it is the Wendigo. Okay, Candle. My candle decided that it's gonna start doing some funky things tonight. Alright. So the Wendigo. From the Native American perspective, it is described as a humanoid monster with fangs, antlers, and glowing eyes. The Algonquian Wendigo either devours its victims or possesses their spirit and turns them evil. Hello, Billy Joe. Hello, Mitch Hell. Hello, Angie. Sorry, I just realized that it just now popped up that you guys were here. As the tale goes, the Wendigo was once a lost hunter. During a brutally cold winter, this man's intense hunger drove him to cannibalism. After feasting on another human's flesh, he transformed into a crazed man-beast, roaming the forest in search of more people to eat. The story of the Wendigo, sometimes spelled Windigo, Windigo, or Windigo, Windago, instead of Wendigo, comes from the Algonquian Native American folklore, and the exact details vary depending on who you ask. Some people who have claimed to encounter the beast say it's a relative of Bigfoot, but other reports compare the Wendigo to a werewolf instead. Since the Wendigo is said to be a cold weather creature, most sightings have been reported in Canada, as well as colder northern states in the U.S., like Minnesota. At the turn of the 20th century, the Algonquian tribes blamed many unsolved disappearances of people on Wendigo attacks. From centuries old tales to modern day accounts, the Wendigo remains one of the most terrifying beasts in the history of folklore. What is a Wendigo? The fearsome nature of this mystical beast. For being an insatiable predator, the Wendigo is definitely not the largest or most muscular beast out there. Though he is said to be almost 15 feet tall, his body is often described as emaciated. Perhaps this can be attributed to the notion that he is never satisfied with his cannibalistic urges. Obsessed with hunting for new victims, he is forever hungry until he's eating another person. According to the legends of the Nahanni Valley, a native I can't speak tonight, guys. I apologize. A native author, and Ethan. I can't speak at all. Sorry, guys, I apologize. Ethnographer named Basil H. Johnston once described the Wendigo in his masterwork, the Manita. Okay, I'm gonna spell it because I can't say it. I apologize. It's Manitous. Once again, Manitous. As such, the Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation. Its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out over its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into the sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What tips it had were tattered and bloody, unclean and suffering from suppurations of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. According to the ethno-historian Nathan Carlson, it's also been said that the Wendigo has large, sharp claws and massive eyes like an owl. However, some other people simply describe the Wendigo as a skeleton-like figure with ash-toned skin. But no matter which version sounds the most plausible, this is obviously not a cryptid you'd want to run into on a hike, and surely ranks among the most terrifying in the Native American monsters. Different versions of the Wendigo legend say different things about his speed and agility. Some claim he is unusually fast and in dirt, walking for long periods of time, even in harsh winter conditions. Others say he walks in a more haggard manner, as if he is falling apart, but speed wouldn't be a necessary skill for a monster of his nature. Unlike other terrifying carnivores, the Wendigo doesn't rely on pursuing his prey in order to capture and eat it. Rather, one of its creepiest traits is the ability to mimic human voices. He uses this skill to lure people in and drew them away from civilization. Once they're isolated in the desolate depths of the wilderness, he attacks them and then feasts on them. The Algonquian people say that during the turn of the 20th century, a large number of their people went missing. The tribes attributed many of these mysterious disappearances to the Wendigo, thus calling him the spirit of lonely places. Another rough translation of Wendigo is the evil spirit that devours mankind. This translation is related to yet another version of the Wendigo that has the power to curse humans by possessing them. Once he has infiltrated their minds, he can turn them into Wendigos as well, instilling upon them a similar lust for human flesh. One of the most infamous cases is the story of Swift Runner, the Native American man who murdered and ate his whole family during the winter of 1879. According to Animal Planet, Swift Runner claimed to be possessed by a Wendigo spirit at the time of the murders. Still, he was hanged for his crime. Frighteningly enough, there was quite a few... Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm stumbling because my dog's barking. Frighteningly enough, there were quite a few other stories about the spirit supposedly possessing people in communities stretching from northern Quebec to the Rockies. Many of the reports were shockingly similar to the Swift Runner case. A deeper meaning behind the Wendigo. Whether you believe the Wendigo lurks in the woods at night or not, this is not just another boogeyman story. The mythological creature meant to scare people for no reason. It also has historical significance for many indigenous communities. The legend of the Wendigo has long been associated with real-life problems like insatiable greed, selfishness, and violence. It's also linked to many cultural taboos against the negative actions and behaviors. Basically, the word Wendigo can also function as a symbol for gluttony and the image of excess. As Basil Johnston has written, the idea of turning Wendigo is a very real possibility when the word refers to self-destruction rather than literally becoming a monster in the forest. According to the book Rewriting apocalypse in Canadian fiction, Wendigo stories were once viewed as the illustration of the violent and primitive nature of the very people telling those stories. But ironically enough, these stories might actually represent the indigenous people's response to the horrific violence unleashed on them from non-native people. In fact, many anthropologists believe that the concept of a Wendigo only developed after the native people had contact with the Europeans. Rewriting Apocalypse adds that some modern-day confusion about the Wendigo may have to do with certain terms getting lost in translation. One well-known mistake was traced to the compiler of a dictionary who entered the information regarding the word Wendigo and substituted the word ghoul for the appropriate word fool because of the thought the native people meant ghoul. Hi, Mom. No worries. But what about those scary Wendigo stories that supposedly affected real people? Some anthropologists also argue that the Wendigo stories, especially those involving Wendigo accusations, are linked to the stress within the Native American communities. The local tension leading up to such accusations may even be comparable to the fear that preceded the Salem witch trials. However, in the case of the Native American communities, most of the stress was due to the dwindling amount of resources, not to mention the extermination of food in the area. Under those circumstances, who could blame them for having a fear of starvation? Just about only one thing scarier would be the starvation became too much to handle. Now, just like any other legendary beast, including the Skinwalker, the Wendigos remain a you believe it if or you don't kind of situation. Yes, I actually see some comments popping up. Serenity's, yours just popped up. I know some tribes refuse to say the word Wendigo because they believe it brings them near. Yes. If you live anywhere near the Appalachia and you are outside, that word doesn't typically leave your mouth. I'm only saying it because I am enclosed in my own house and I'm perfectly fine. But yeah, it is typically not something that is said. Interestingly enough, there are even a couple of lakes today named after the beast, including a Lake Wendigo in Minnesota and a Wendigo Lake in Wisconsin. But those are believed the physical Wendigo think he might still be out there in the woods, and underneath that terrifying flesh-eating demon, there might still be a human who was once just a hungry hunter. I'm gonna switch over so I can actually see more comments real quick and give myself a moment to breathe. Does anybody have any questions, comments while I'm looking through comments? I feel you on that, Christy. My candle, when, it just went, it was crazy, and it was out of the blue. And I'm glad you can make it, Serenity. I do want to apologize ahead of time. This is a little bit of a more of a lesson dump of information, so sorry it's not so much interactive, but in order to get to the more interactive lives, I need to be able to give you all of this information so it makes sense. I'm glad you're fascinated, Melissa. Yeah, it is kind of terrifying if you think about it. That's a good question, Billy Joe. Curious if anyone here has asked the Wendigo to lend a hand in their working. Me personally, no. No, I have not. That's a really good question, though. I like that one. They are not also known as skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are different. That is a Navajo tradition. And skinwalkers were known as the witches that went off on their own. There's more to it. I don't want to butcher it because my notes aren't in front of me for that. It's a whole different thing. But that is a good question, Serenity. They are just very similar creatures. They can do very similar things, but they are not the same. I hope that helps. I hope that helps answer your question as well, Christy. I'm sorry, my dog made your dog go up. My dog doesn't shut up. He barks all the time. And I'm almost caught up in the comments. Yes, and Serenity, that's a really good thing. I heard that if you hear whistling, that it's best that you didn't and ignore it. Yes. I am not going to go into that so much in this live. I'm going to go into that more in the next part of the folklore. But yes, if you hear whistling, no you didn't. If you hear your name being called, no you didn't. If you hear the voice of somebody that you thought that you know, no you didn't. Don't ever run. It's not a good idea. But again, like I said, I am going to go into that more in the next live, but that is a good point. I'm glad everybody's loving it so far. Sorry, I apologize. I just want to hit these comments real quick and then get back into it. Oh, I'm glad that answered your question, Serenity. I keep forgetting that you're in Texas, so yeah, you would have skinwalkers. Alright, I think I am... No problem, Ronnie. And hello, beautiful. Glad you could make it. We are gonna go into the next one. I'm gonna hop back off of the comments. I do apologize. They are now starting to come up on my phone upon occasions. It's just a hit or miss. The next one I have for you is The Legend of Spearfinger. It's a Cherokee legend of warning, but she is one of the first known child abductors and serial killers. Long ago, there lived a strong medicine woman named Spearfinger. She was a shapeshifter and could take on any given shape at any given time. Her real appearance was that of an old woman, but her skin was so rough and hardened by the elements that it looked like stone. Another name for her was, give me like 10 seconds. Nunwumwe. 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 There we go. Again, I apologize if I butcher anything ahead of time. Which meant dressed in stone. On her right hand, her forefinger was very long and... Oh, that made that 10 times worse. I apologize. Anyway, I lost my... was very long and bony. That's how she got the name Spearfinger. She was such a strong woman that she could lift heavy stones and cement, fuse them together just by hitting them together against one another. She would travel all over the mountain ranges and sometimes sit at the top of the mountain to observe all the people below. Over the years, she managed to build a stone bridge all the way from the Hiawassee, Georgia, to Whiteside Mountain between Highlands and Cashiers, North Carolina. Spearfinger had an appetite for livers, human livers. She would entice children to wander from their villages by calling to them by singing a lovely tune. When the children got close enough, she would grab them and, using that long bony finger, tear out their livers and eat it right there in front of them. They wouldn't object because they were under her spell. Her finger was so sharp that the puncture hole was barely noticeable. Then the children, no longer under her spell, would return to their village only to die a few days later. After losing many children over the years, several of the chiefs from different villages had a big meeting, and it was decided they would form a group to kill Spearfinger once and for all, thereby freeing future generations from her attacks. It was in the fall when the Cherokee would go into the forest to burn the underbrush, which allowed them to get to the chestnuts. They knew the fires would lure Spearfinger because she followed their fall harvest traditions as a way to be near more children for her own to harvest more livers, many livers. What she didn't know is that the Cherokee had dug a very large pit covered with straw. Sure enough, as she walked the path as a sweet old woman that night, singing her tune and looking for children, but she fell into the pit. She was mad, and the more mad she became, her shape changed to her old stony self. The men tried to hit her with their weapons, but their spears broke off against her hard body. Some tried to hit her with arrows, but they just bounced off too. It was a losing battle. She started to hit rocks together to build herself a way out of the pit. Legend has it that more than one brave man fell into the pit, only to be torn apart in shreds. She finally got out, and the people thought all was lost. A great battle ensued, but she was stronger than any of them. A little bird, a tough-tipped mouse, appeared and sang a song to the men, telling them to aim at her heart. They did, but Spearfinger just laughed. Her laughter sounded like great thunder as she kept on killing the warriors. Some of the warriors caught the bird and called him a liar and cut his tongue. That is why the tough-tipped mouse has a very short tongue today. The war against Spearfinger kept on and on. Then another bird, a chickadee, appeared. The fearless chickadee flew down and went underneath Spearfinger's, the old woman's, right hand and flew upward, causing Spearfinger's own arm to rise up towards the sky. The bird sang a song, telling the men to shoot her in the heart, but the chickadee's song told the Spearfinger's heart was on the palm of her hand. The warriors shot arrows at her heart, and she fell down. She fell down so hard that the rocks, her stone body, crumbled and cemented themselves, and she became a part of the mountain. The bridge she had built crumbled too, and those rocks can still be seen today where they rest below Whiteside Mountain. As you walk along the craggy edges, you may still see flies swarming around some of the lichen-covered ancient rocks. The flies are a warning to beware of Spearfinger. My mother-in-law, sorry. I went into a continuation. This was an account by a Jenny Chambers. Her mother-in-law told her children this a tale when they were up on the mountain of Whiteside Mountain, and this tale was told to her when she was younger, and this tale was told to her grandmother, or her mother and her grandmother, and so on and so forth. It was a very gruesome tale that was passed on down many different generations of many different people within the tribes of the Cherokee and and the villages that surrounded the Cherokee. This legend was there to teach others about the dangers of life, and that life in their time and life in the future. This was there to remind you that the world is a dangerous place, and that you need to take caution and remember to check your surroundings and to be mindful of what's out there, and to protect yourself and to protect those you love and care about as well. I'm gonna keep jumping down because, like I said, I want to cover a couple different ones. The next one I have for you, this one is, there's not a whole lot of information on them. But this is about the Moon-Eyed people. Cherokee legend. According to the Cherokee lore, Moon-Eyed people lived deep in the woods of present-day North Carolina and Georgia. They were blue-eyed and pale. They were so sensitive to light that they slept during the day and emerged only in the moonlight. And unlike other beings who appeared in indigenous legends, they were neither spirits nor monsters, but humans like the Cherokee themselves. Though the legend of the Moon-Eyed people may be merely that legend, some suspect the Cherokee stories about the mysterious beings may be rooted in historical fact. Some even suspect that the Moon-Eyed people were descendants of Welsh settlers who arrived centuries before Christopher Columbus. I don't want to get into that debate, but let's just face the facts that Christopher Columbus was not the first one to discover the Americas. This is the story of the Moon-Eyed people of the Appalachians and the mysterious traces that they may have left behind. As European settlers poured into North America in the 18th century, they began documenting the legend of the Moon-Eyed people for the first time. According to the Legends of America, the Cherokee described this mysterious race of people as small, light-eyed, and pale. Because of their sensitivity to light, they hid during the day and emerged only at night. The Cherokee tell us that when they first arrived in the country which they inhabit, they found it possessed by certain moon-eyed people who could not see in the daytime. American botanist and educator Benjamin Smith Bourbon's words wrote in 1797. A Cherokee chief, Aconostata, also recounted the story of the Moon-Eyed people to Tennessee Governor John Sevier in 1782. An old man at the time, Aconostata repeated the story told to him by his ancestors that white men had long ago crossed the great water, the Atlantic Ocean, and landed first near the mouth of the Alabama River near Mobile. So what happened to them? Byrne recorded that the Cherokee had expelled these wretches, and North Carolina Ghost suggests that the Cherokee took advantage of the Moon-Eyed people's intolerance or brightness by attacking them during a powerful full moon. Today it's possible to see tales of Moon-Eyed people as more myths, but some believe that the Moon-Eyed people really existed. They suspect that they were the Europeans who came to North America in the 12th century. Did Welshmen come to the North America in 1770? The legend of the Moon-Eyed people runs parallel to another legend. This one was about the Welsh prince named Madoc of Owain Gwenel. Madoc and his brother Rered allegedly decided to flee from Wales in 1170 because of a civil war between their brothers. Sailing west, the brothers allegedly landed in North America and established a settlement. Legend states that Madoc even returned to Wales to bring more people across the Atlantic with him. And though Madoc and Rered subsequently disappeared from historical record, their story was kept alive from the 12th century onward through Welsh stories and songs. Aconostata apparently thought so that the Welsh prince that these were the Moon-Eyed people were the Welsh prince's ancestors. He told Sevier that mysterious mounds in the area had been built by Welshmen. What's more, some Welsh settlers noticed startling similarities between their culture and the indigenous culture they encountered in the New World. Welshmen in the North America found stone forts like their ancestors had built back in Wales. Noticed that some indigenous people had pale skin and blue eyes, and even remarked that certain indigenous languages sounded similar to Welsh. In 1608, a group of white settlers even found that Welsh was so similar to the Monacans language that they had a Welsh-speaking member of their party, Peter Wynne, act as an interpreter between the two groups. Though it's easy to dismiss some of the evidence as coincidence, and some contend that the Moon-Eyed people also left physical traces of their civilization in the Appalachians, to this day, a number of strange sites exist across the Appalachian foothills, which some believe are the traces of the Moon-Eyed people. As Legends of the America notes, one such site is Fort Mountain in Georgia. There, crumbling traces remain of a once mighty wall, mighty wall, almost 900 feet long, 12 feet thick, and 7 feet high in some places. The wall bears a striking resemblance to European battlements. Sevier even told a friend that the wall had been built by the Welsh, writing that they'd constructed it as protection against the ancestors of the Cherokee who eventually drove them from the region. But if the wall on Fort Mountain was built by the Moon-Eyed people, the Welsh, they may not have had anything to do with the two 12th century princes. Some historians have estimated that the wall predates their arrival by hundreds of years, and many have been built between 400 and 500 CE. A local history museum in Murphy, North Carolina, also claims to have a Moon-Eyed people artifact that they contend that a 19th century farmer dug up a strange statue on his land which appears to depict two people either standing close together or conjoined with flat faces. Whether or not the statue depicts the Moon-Eyed People or if it was made by them is unclear, however. In the end, the legend of the Moon-Eyed People leaves historians with more questions than answers. For now, the answers appear to be lost at time, but the local lore states that along certain portions of the crumbling wall at Fort Mountain, you can still hear distinct drum beats and catch glimpses of men in bear skins. Perhaps these are distant echoes of the mysterious Moon-Eyed People. I will take a moment for this. And I'm gonna go catch up on comments real quick, or at least do my best to. Let's see. Alright. I'll put her with La Llorona in the closets of hell noise. I feel you. I feel that. But we still insist on investigating it. Yeah, you're not wrong, Billy Joe. Don't pick up anything in those mountains. Don't collect rocks. That's great. I like that. I like that a lot. No, you're good. You're good. It's great to be able to laugh about things, Ronnie. Whoever wanted to know what is special about the color blue, look up. Heme blue porches were painted with the color to ward off ghosts and negative spirits. There's also the bottles on the tree limbs traditionally that carried throughout Appalachian culture. Yes, thank you, Laura. That was perfect. The Black-Eyed Children. I actually... That's a good one. I don't have that one down here. Bottles and teas or a cross, so to say tied in twine or with vine around the middle, and a cloth hanging off at times from my family was another way. That's perfect, Billy Joe. Laura, this is my neck of the woods. I love where I live and would not trade my Appalachian roots for the world. Also to note, for folks not from here, it's not Appalachia. Just remember, if you say it that way, then I'ma throw an Appalachia at LOL. I'm the same way. I actually yell at my husband for it all the time. Intriguing, fascinating. Oh, I'm hearing good things. Good hearing. Super intriguing. Yes. Alright, I'm going to jump back over. The next one I got for you is the Brown Mountain Lights. The theory, or rather legend, that carries itself around the local area is titled Spirits of the Fallen Warriors. According to the folklore around the Brown Mountain Lights, the glowing orbs are believed to represent the souls of fallen Native American warriors. Legends have it that these brave warriors fought the great courage in battles fought within the mountain range. In addition to territorial wars between feuding tribes inhabiting the Appalachian Mountains, the Cherokee Indians also fought against European settlers who tried to seize and settle their lands, and later against the American government, who ruthlessly deprived them of their, in their own opinion, rights to said lands. It is said that their spirits, unable to find peace, still wander the area, manifesting themselves in twinkling lights dancing across the landscape. Over the years, many eyewitnesses have reported seeing the lights and have described them as ghostly orbs that resemble torches or campfires. Some accounts even mention hearing faint chanting or distant drumming accompanying the lights, further supporting the belief that there are restless spirits of Native American warriors. The first recorded sighting of the Brown Mountain Lights dates back to the early 1800s. Local newspapers and magazines began documenting the phenomenon, piquing the interest of scientists, researchers, and the curious alike. Over the years, countless eyewitness accounts have been reported, further fueling the legend and leaving many intrigued by the unexplained lights. And if you travel during the fall season, I believe is what I've read, is when you can see them is the best time to see them, because all of the leaves had fallen and you can actually see through to the other side, and it's more open. The next legend that I'm gonna go into is the Bigfoot legend. I'm not going to go into a huge debate on this. I am only going to go into a shining light on this specific topic. Please make sure that if you want to hear more about it, you read more up on it. So, Bigfoot legend. In the shadowy depths of North America's vast wilderness, a towering figure has long captured the imagination of explorers, scientists, and many other people alike. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is an enigmatic creature that has been the subject of fascination, speculation, and investigation for centuries. While many have focused on the physical evidence for Bigfoot's existence, such as footprints, hair samples, and blurry photographs, there is another dimension to this mystery that is often overlooked: the rich tapestry of Native American legends and lore surrounding Bigfoot-like creatures. The Native American roots of Bigfoot phenomenon has shared many different depictions of tall, hairy men, ape-like creatures. Several encounters of the Bigfoot have been stated through multiple Native American tribes. He tends to pop up when he least is expected. There is many depictions. One of the first things that you should know is it has many different names. It is said to also roam the dense forest of the Pacific Northwest of the Appalachian. They are always telling stories of it being a giant, hairy, human-like being that roamed the wilderness. These creatures, now I apologize if I butcher the names again, the Lumi people of the Pacific Northwest called them the Emekewes, TS''EMEKWES, a race of nocturnal hairy giants that dwell in the mountains and forests. The Salish call them Sasquatch, which means wild man in their language. The Algonquian tribes of the Northeast have legends of the Witico or the Wendigo. Obviously, we've talked about that one. And the Shoshone of the Great Basin know of the Seaquith, Seahahtk, a powerful and dangerous creature that roams the powerful high deserts. And then, sorry, I apologize. Many tribes describe these creatures as a humanoid, or they're infused with with supernatural powers and have spiritual significance that that go beyond the physical realm. Many tribes believe they can have shape-shifting abilities, and that they can transform into other animals or even humans at will. The Lumi tell stories of the Bigfoot appearing as deer or a bear to trick hunters, only to reveal their true form when shot with an arrow. Up in Vancouver, they believe the Sasquatch can turn invisible or teleport from one place to another in a blink of an eye. Other tribes see Bigfoot as an interdimensional being capable of moving between the physical world and the spirit realm. The Lakota of the Great Plains believe that Bigfoot is a manifestation of the Chi-Tanka, a powerful spirit that can bless or curse humans depending on their actions. The Apache of the Southwest have stories of the Mongolian monster that is a shape-shifting sorcerer. In many native traditions, Bigfoot serves as a kind of intermediary between the human and the natural worlds, enforcing taboos and moral codes. The Yurok of Northern California believe the Oma is a guardian of the forest, punishing those who take more than they need or fail to show proper respect for nature. The Choctaw have stories of the Shampa, a hairy giant that kidnaps children who misbehave or wander too far from the camp. These supernatural and spiritual dimensions of the Native American Bigfoot add a layer of complexity and depth to the phenomenon that is often missing from mainstream accounts. They suggest that Bigfoot is not just a biological puzzle to be solved, but a powerful symbol of the mysteries and forces that animate the natural world. To get you full grasp of the significance of the Bigfoot in the Native American culture, it is essential to examine the specific tribal traditions and the sacred stories in detail. These narratives provide a window into rich cosmologies and belief systems into indigenous peoples and reveal the many roles that Bigfoot plays in the world stream. One of the most striking examples comes from the Yokut people of Central California. In their tradition, the Mayak Daffod, or the hairy man, is a central figure in creation myths, playing a pivotal role in shaping the course of human history according to the Yokut legend. Moving on to the Lumi tribe, they are the nocturnal forest dwellers that are said to whistle a hypnotic tune to lure travelers off the path into darkness. The Suquamish have stories of the wild men that break into villages to steal fish, but later leave gifts of deer meat as a sign of respect. The Chehalis of the Pacific Northwest have legends of the Siko, a race of cannibalistic giants that once terrorized their ancestors. According to the stories, these creatures were eventually outwitted and destroyed by a clever hero named Siatko, who used his wits, and magic to outsmart the monsters. This tale serves as a reminder of the power of human ingenuity in the face of even the most fearsome adversaries. In many Native traditions, Bigfoot also serves as a kind of cautionary tale or moral lesson. Taken together, these tribes' traditions point a picture of Bigfoot as a complex, multifaceted figure, one that is deeply woven into the fabric of Native American cultural identities and spiritual beliefs. They challenge us to look beyond the surface level fascination with the creature's physical reality and to consider the deeper meanings and lessons that these stories have to offer. A lot of them are warning signs of impending danger or upheaval, urging people to be on their guard and respect the natural order. Them sneaking to steal children who have wandered too far from the fire, teaching them a lesson about obedience and importance of staying close to the community. Those are different warning signs. And then, like I said, there's been multiple different historical accounts. If you want to know more about the Bigfoot, definitely do your research. I am going to jump back over to the comments real quick. See what you guys have commented before I get to the next tale, because we are actually almost out of the Native American tales, and I am going to actually end the live there for the evening after this next tale, because I don't want to go too far. I've already been on here for a little over an hour. I don't want to go too far tonight. So after this next tale, I am going to end it here. And then we will catch the rest on the second part. But let me catch up on these comments. I do apologize. Sighting. Let's see. yes, Serenity, it does have the Mothman, like I said. And that's one of the lores that's in the next part. I was gonna have it in this part, but it just wasn't gonna fit the way I needed it to with how much information is in here. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the next one. I'm glad you're enjoying these stories. I got more, like I said, this is why I had to break this into two different parts, because I knew it was going to take a decent time to get them all done. We're a little over halfway or we're just about done with the indigenous history. But jumping right in, the next one in line, you are absolutely welcome, guys. The next one I got for you is the Raven Mocker. In the mythological traditions of the Cherokee people, tales of the mysterious beings known as Raven Mockers. I am not gonna try to pronounce in any way, shape, or form the actual term of that. I will post it in the comments just to show you, but I'm not gonna say it. It's kind of like one of those when you read a name from a different state like Hawaii and you can't pronounce half of those names. Anyway, Raven Mockers evoke fear and fascination. Described by James Mooney in his historical accounts, a Raven Mocker imitator is among the most feared figures in Cherokee lore, believed to possess the ability to steal the life force of the dying. I do. I keep falling off my bed, so I'm gonna just sit here. These supernatural entities, portrayed as withered and aged figures, take to the skies at night in a fiery form with outstretched arms resembling wings. Their presence is heralded by a distinctive cry akin to a raven's call, signaling impending death to those who hear it. At night, when someone is sick or dying in the settlement, the Raven Mocker goes to the place to take the life. He flies through the air in fiery shape with arms outstretched like wings, and sparks trailing behind and rushing sound like the noise of a strong wind. Every little while as he flies, he makes a cry like the cry of a raven when it dives in the air, not like the common raven cry, but those who hear are afraid because they know that some man's life will soon go out. According to tradition, Raven Mockers gather the homes of the sick and dying, invisible to all except those with special medicine or knowledge. Without intervention by the skilled medicine man, these malevolent beings torment and ultimately kill their victims, consuming their hearts to extend their own lives. Sometimes to do this, they even lift him from the bed and throw him to the floor, but his friends who are with him think he is only struggling for breath. Though it is sometimes referred to as a witch, that is a European term. The Cherokee call evil spirits that torment the sick Sunai, Adahi, or the night goers. They cannot be seen except for by certain medicine men. Then they may look like a person or take the form of an animal. Imagine how terrifying to be deathly sick and yet have to worry about this. The family will summon a medicine man to keep watch and hold it away until the person recovers. If the person dies, the medicine man will keep watch until the person is buried. After the burial, the heart cannot be taken. The medicine man drives a sharpened stick into the ground at each corner of the house. Then about noontime, he gets ready the ancient tobacco, reborn or remade sacred tobacco, with which he fills his pipe, repeating the chant below. He then wraps the pipe in a black cloth. He then goes out to the forest and returns just before dark, about which time the evil spirit will arrive. Lighting his pipe, he goes slowly around the house, puffing the smoke in the direction of every trail by which the Kulona might approach. He then goes into the house to wait. When the spirit arrives, the sharpened stick on that side of the house shoots up in the air and comes down like an arrow upon his head. This causes the spirit to die within 7 days. Family and friends check near the far someone who dies within that time, knowing they were the night goer. Mooney recounts stories by brave individuals like the Gunshali ski, equipped with the the right medicine, who hunted and confronted raven mockers, ensuring protection for the vulnerable. It was believed that when a raven mocker was identified and its true form recognized, its demise was inevitable within 7 days. It is one chilling narrative shared by Mooney. A young man seeking shelter inadvertently encounters raven mockers disguised as an elderly couple. Hidden in darkness, he witnesses their gruesome ritual of roasting a heart over the fire. The sinister exchange between the couple reveals their macabre intentions, reinforcing the malevolent nature of the mythical beings. The story takes a grim turn as the young man narrowly escapes, carrying with him the harrowing secret of the Raven Mocker's true identity. Returning with a group of warriors, they discover the shared remains of the Raven Mockers, their earthly form destroyed. The mythology of the Raven Mockers highlights the Cherokee belief in supernatural forces that govern life and death. Witches are believed by some to transform into great horned owls. This transformation, influenced by Anglo cultures, has been inaccurately labeled with the English term shapeshifter. The Cherokee term for witch and great horned owl are the same. Sorry. I apologize. Though the Kelowna is sometimes referred to as a witch, that is a European term. The Cherokee call evil spirits that torment the sick Sunai. Sunai. Or the nightgoers. In addition to magical procedures to ensure protection in a specific circumstance, such as when going to war, when traveling, or when attending a gathering of people among whom there might be personal foes, the Cherokee know and practice measures for the guarding of an individual against an unknown enemy or an unforeseen danger. There are texts incantations used for the general purpose of protection. They are generally, possibly, and invariably either going to water or tobacco preparation texts. It's known that people are familiar with and use simpler incantation texts, especially those related to water rituals, but more complex and potent texts belong exclusively to the medicine men and women. These professionals rely heavily on those texts, using them not only for clients' benefit but also for self-protection, and they are often targeted by malevolent magical practitioners. During a tobacco preparation ceremony, the practitioner announces their name. Oh, man. And clan, or if the tobacco is intended for the client's name and clan. In certain rituals after preparation, the tobacco is held outstretched towards the rising sun before being slowly brought down across the face of the sun. According to Western Cherokee beliefs, this exposure to the sun's rays enhances the tobacco's power, although its primary authority comes from the incantation. Tobacco treated with specific incantations can be stored for later use in situations like sudden incense, uneasiness, and unexplained physical discomfort, which could indicate sorcery from an unknown source. General purpose protection. Tobacco also safeguard a vacant house or an ill person who is particularly susceptible to witchcraft due to their weakened state. To maintain the potency of stored remade tobacco, precautions must be taken to protect it from breaking, which can occur in the presence of a pregnant or menstruating woman, a corpse, or someone who has been in contact with a corpse without purification. Whew. I'm jumping over here to the comments. Check these real quick. Alright. Yeah, I never heard of Bigfoot being a shapeshifter either until I started doing more research. Alright, so I'm going to end this here because actually the next set is going to go into the last half of the folklore anyway. So before I step back from the camera and walk away from tonight's live, is there any questions? I do want to I actually have a question for all of y'all. Are you guys understanding, after hearing a little bit of the folklore and hearing what comes from the folklore, are you guys understanding why learning these stories are an important factor into understanding Appalachian folk magic? Alright, sorry, I'm catching the comments, I apologize. Sherry said, this made a lot of sense since tobacco is one of the sacred herbs used in a variety of different aspects. Yes, absolutely. You are welcome, Jenny. I'm glad you've found this interesting. You're welcome, Haley. I can't wait to go into the next part. Like I said, I knew this was gonna, these two lives were gonna be a little bit on the longer side. I don't know how to make them exactly too fun and interactive because it's informational, but I am trying at least with the background music and a little bit of the, light from the candles and stuff. Anyway, glad you can't wait, Serenity. I'm glad that I could spark your interest on this one. This has been fun for me. Sorry, my phone thing did not wanna. Okay, let's see. Alright. Okay, awesome. I'm glad that this all makes sense and it's starting to tie everything together. So, on that note, this live has already been long enough, and I'm gonna touch base with you guys again in December. Stay tuned for part 2. Have a good night. Blessed be. Bye, ladies. Hope to deep dive later.